Today on Supernormalized, I have the honor of talking with Fabiola Baughman. She is a modern-day shaman that was led to her understanding of connection to plants and plant spirits and plants of place and spirits of place and spirits of history through her lineage and also her openness and her intuition. This was something that happened to her. She was basically a biologist at start. So imagine somebody being in a scientific materialist sort of paradigm, but also having a touch of nature from her childhood growing up. This came together in a way that allowed her to see more of spirit and more of the connection to the spirits of place and plants and nature that then enabled her now to assist people with healing. So this is her story today. It's a great story, and I really appreciated the time that Fabiola shared with me. So enjoy the show. Looking at the statistics that I have for YouTube and for my podcast apps, I have a lot of listeners and viewers that aren't yet liked and subscribed. So if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. It's free. And if you're on a podcast app, please give me 5 stars. That'd be really cool. It helps other people find these great conversations too. Thank you. Welcome to Supernormalized, Fabiola Baughman. Did I say that right?
Baughman, yeah, it's fine.
Baughman, okay.
Baughman, yeah.
Well, it's very good to meet you, Fabiola. I'm very interested in your story and how it came about. But you started your life growing up in Lima, Peru. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I was born in Lima in the 70s, and it was a very interesting time as I was growing up in the 1980s and 90s. There was a lot of chaos in Lima because of terrorism. But I found a way to find my peace, my calm within that turmoil by connecting to nature. And I became a scientist. I always had a strong connection with Mother Nature, so I'm a biologist by training. And later on, I never had an opportunity to go to the mountains as much as I did after I left the country. But anytime I got a chance, when I was in college as a biologist, I would go in and camp and really be in that solitude of nature. Later on, I immigrated to the United States.
I find it fascinating that you had that deep connection to nature, but also this scientific materialist sort of worldview as a part of that as well. How did you reconcile the two growing up and also then working with this sort of energy between the two sort of fields?
I think in a lot of spiritual, for a lot of spiritual guides, there's a moment in time where the intuitive door shuts down, like around the age of 12. I heard that story over and over. When you kind of decide, how am I going to relate to the world around me, to the society that I live in? And you make a choice and pick a path that makes sense at the time. But later you return to it to realize that the things that you knew as a child, that pure connection that you had to that part within yourself, with me was through nature. I needed to go back to it and to explore more about it.
That's exactly what happened to me too. As a child, I do remember sort of shutting down to the spirit world and then trying to integrate myself into normal life. That, for want of a better word, I wanted to actually be like normal people and be a certain sort of way. And a part of that was also then sort of adopting that to more of a scientific materialist sort of framework for myself. And personally, I found that quite stressful because I actually wasn't being my true self, which was that connection to nature. And it called me back over time through different sorts of ways.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel that's what happened to me once I came to the United States. I got my master's degree and I was teaching in the community college. I realized that there was something not quite right about the way I was seeing my life, how I was relating to my profession, to nature in general. And I took a pause. I had children at the time, and my husband, as a geologist, was traveling quite a bit. And I said, I'm going to take a pause. The interesting part, too, is that for spiritual teachers, there is a moment when they realize that their health is being affected because they're not on their path. So by me taking that pause allowed me to really come back into who I was, what was important to me. And that led me to explore meditation. Meditation led to clairvoyance to healing, and then to be invited back to Peru on a spiritual journey.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I got led back into it through meditation as well, and studies of Zen and just that stillness. It was like a familiar place from before that the plant spirits that had talked to me. So yeah, that's fascinating. Okay, so imagine being a almost staunch materialist and then coming to terms with the fact that nature also is calling you. Can you share what actually inspired you to transition from a career in science to becoming a shamanic practitioner? Was there a moment where that was really a huge change for you?
Yes. So when I went back to Peru on a spiritual journey, that was back in 2018, and I was able to see, I had reconnected back to my intuitive brain, right? And I was able to, somebody handed me some coca leaves and say, now that you are in this place, in this sacred place, which is Sacsayhuaman, outside of the city of Cusco, just tune into the spirituality of this place and see what you can feel. So the coca leaf was kind of like a portal for me, and pretty soon it opened up. And as it opened up, I saw this character coming towards me, and I could see him very clearly. And it was an Inca. He was a very powerful leader, right? And I was just like, whoa. I mean, as a clairvoyant, I had seen many images. I have seen many people in my mind, but this was like truly an Inca, very powerful person. And he was coming towards me, and I just took a moment and I looked at my guide and I said, Julian, do people see this Inca here in Sacsayhuaman? And he says, yeah. Do you know who he is? And he says, probably Pachacutec. So I closed my eyes again and I tuned into him, and he felt like he was Pachacutec because he felt so powerful. Wow. So Pachacutec was one of the most famous Incas of the Inca Empire. He was the one that expanded the empire to one of its biggest size, right? And he was powerful. And Pachacutec means earth shaker. The one that shakes the earth, right? That changes everything. We're going through a Pachacutec right now, earth shaking. So anyways, I connected with him, and he started talking to me how upset he was about the way we were treating Mother Earth, Pachamama. This is not the way to treat Pachamama, he was saying. This is not the way. There's so much corruption with the politicians. The waters, the rivers are polluted. He was very upset about the rivers of South America. And so I was there, and as I received this message, I was feeling unsettled because I felt like he was calling me to action. And I said, who am I to clean rivers? Who am I to make these changes on political? And he just told me something very powerful. He said, be a catalyst for change. And for me, being a biologist and having studied chemistry for forever and ever, it was really the right word to say, be a catalyst for change. It made me understand that I didn't have to be very big, but I needed to be present and to work for that change. And so I took that message with me. And then during that journey, I started receiving initiations. So initiations to be in connection with the spirits of the land there. I grew more curious, and I finally received all the initiations that I needed. But when I came home, I started connecting to the spirits that would talk to me in my dreams, and they would ask me to come back. And they said, you need to experience this in the land. And they called me back, so I went on a journey on my own, left my family, and I said, I gotta go, they're calling me. And I called a shaman friend, and she took me to different sacred places. And in every place, I would have this conversation with the spirits, and they became my family. So now they guide my practice, and I can't live my life any other way but with their guidance. So I'm in a very special place right now.
That's wonderful. I'd imagine that basically everywhere that you go then, because of the connection to the plant spirits and the land spirits and the spirits of probably even space and time of the area, it feels like it's home everywhere.
Yes, it's very interesting because every tree that I connect to, every place that I connect to, there's always, and I think we need to kind of break that mysticism that nature is not in our homes. I remember once I was in my brother's house, and all of a sudden I started turning into his porch, and I realized that there were fairies there. It's like, wow, did you realize this? Have you ever felt that funny feeling in your porch? And he was like, no, but I do see it a lot there because it feels nice. So it's interesting, when we start opening our senses, we start realizing that there's magic everywhere and that we're not alone. And the important thing is to raise our frequency so we can attract the positivity, that these kind of spirits that are positive, that are going to make our life even better.
Yeah, there seems to be an agenda there for them to actually assist with the change that's happening in reality right now and with the waking up of people. Now, how's this deep connection with the spirits affected you and your healing practice?
Very strongly. So I connected with the spirits of the mountains, the Apus. They're known as the Apus, A-P-U-S. And basically, as I said, they became part of my family. And in every instance when I'm healing someone in my practice, in my office, they guide me, what about if you do this? And sometimes I can see it very clearly because I can see their energetic body, But at the same time, they tell me, ask them this question. And then when I ask the question, I realize that there is a trauma, right? Ask them about their father, ask them about their mother, or ask them about this. So they know and they guide me. And then pretty soon there's this door that opens up and there you see the trauma. So let's work on that. Let's work on releasing that. So it's almost like having a team of energetic doctors by my side. And I really, really enjoy that.
Yeah, spirit team. That's what we call it. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Yes.
So your documentary about your experience, Journey to the Heart of the Andes, has received significant recognition. What was the driving force behind creating that documentary, and what messages do you hope that people take away from it?
The driving force was that one day I was parking my car and I had been in conversation with the Apus and the lineages that I'm connected to all day long. And they asked me, what if you filmed this documentary? But it came in the form of kind of like a lightning bolt that hit me on the side of the head. And I mean, it wasn't a little lightning bolt, but it felt like strong energy that hit me. And they asked me, and basically an avalanche of images came in front of me. And it started showing me, you have been filming already. And all these images came coming forward. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. So I called my husband and I said, hey, listen to what happened to me. What do you think? And he said, well, why not? So I was just surprised because I've never, we always have to, well, maybe no, maybe we should wait, or maybe we should do it this way. No, he was just like, right on, let's do this. And I had no experience in filmmaking, but somehow we put a team together and it was an incredible journey. So it really was, when I look back, it was an opportunity to show how the people of the Andes live, how they interact with the spirits of the land, and what lessons from the indigenous culture we can incorporate into our life. And it really is about reminding people that we are all indigenous in nature, that we're all part of Pachamama, that when we think about healing Pachamama, we need to think about healing ourselves too, integrating the elements into ourselves. We heal ourselves and we heal the earth.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's definitely the message that people need to hear right now, because there is a lot of confusion as to our connections to what should be real and what isn't. It seems like there's a lot of distraction when it could be focused upon, heart-centered practices and also connecting to each other and the planet. So can you describe some common challenges that individuals face when they start to seek spiritual healing or guidances? And how do your sessions address these challenges when it comes to our modern day society, which is like distraction, continuously feel bad about yourself? It's ridiculous, to be honest. That causes common challenges that everyone goes through. And this little section here is about facing those challenges.
Well, I can tell you, for me, the main challenge is ego, right? We feel like we have to have a particular place, and we have to, people have to see us a certain way. Well, we have to keep this facade, right? A facade of how people see us. But what truly matters is how we feel about ourselves. So if we put that ego aside, just kind of like taking a cape off, just put it on the ground, just put your ego aside and just really tune into that energy of yourself. What makes you truly happy? What makes you truly happy? And just attune to that and continue your life that way. You will pretty soon start tuning into your own higher self and will start bringing that information forward, that what you came to do here in this life, what is your true purpose? And that is the challenge, because a lot of our society is teaching us to focus on the day-to-day, making a living, either making money, have a certain status in society. But truly it doesn't matter, because if you ultimately are not happy with who you are, you're really poor. You don't have abundance. True abundance comes from within. So tuning into the abundance within your heart is what you need in order to start a spiritual life, or at least that spiritual connection. We're not all meant to be spiritual leaders or spiritual teachers. Everybody has a different path. And the only way you're going to know that is through connecting with your higher self, with your inner child, and whatever it's inside of you. So putting aside what everybody else thinks about you is very important. That's step number one.
And what sort of practices do you think that work really good for people to reconnect to that sense of inner self?
I think it's very important, and that is the problem with the Western world, is that we are not tuned into meditation. Meditation is primordial. It's almost like step number one, open the door. Open the door into your mind. You need to go inward. You need to meditate. You need to be able to let go of everybody's judgment. There are different practices that allow you to clear your space and let go of other people's energy. Meditation is what can do that. So meditation is almost like, I tell my clients, it's like taking a shower of your soul, a shower of your mind. We focus on cleansing our body, but we forget that we have to cleanse our mind and our soul. Meditation is the tool to do that. So how often do you take a shower? Same thing. How often do you meditate, right? So if you want to stay clean, you have to cleanse your body on a regular basis.
Yeah, totally agreed. And I find for myself at least minimum one time per day is
Yes.
yeah,
And
minimum.
pretty soon, meditation becomes kind of like a walking meditation because everything you do, you are in tune with that energy, right? You are in tune with who you are and that frequency of what your true purpose is in life.
Yeah, well, it allows you in being open to be able to actually hear the messages that Spirit's trying to tell you about your life and where you're going and what's happening. I mean, it seems like that we're, from my experience, that we are tapped into that assistance all the time. It's a matter of actually listening.
Right, exactly. For sure. It's almost like you need to wait. It's almost like a radio, there's a lot of static and a lot of noise. You need to tune into the frequency through your own frequency, and pretty soon you start hearing your true voice.
Yeah, like you said, wait. That part, that's the important part, is waiting. And it's not waiting with any anxiety. It's just waiting because it takes time.
Yeah, it definitely takes time. And not only that, if you just starting, imagine all the programming, all of the noise that you have collected throughout the years. It's going to take a while. So it's a matter of being patient. Just be aware that you're progressing as you go into the practice. So one day at a time.
One day at a time for sure. And is there any practices besides meditation that you recommend? You did talk a little bit about mindfulness there.
Well, one of the practices that I do is for sure going into nature. A daily practice, a daily walk in nature is so important. Also, one of the things that I do, I take people on journeys to tune into these sacred places where they can find more information about themselves. The most important thing is that we start tuning into ourselves every day. That is the message, to really remember why you came to this earth, what was the purpose. And the only thing you're going to do, the only way you're going to acquire that is by tuning into yourself.
Yeah, definitely. That's the only way you're going to get messages too, is tuning into yourself and into being authentically and honestly here.
Yeah, I think that's the word, authenticity, right? Who cares what people think of you? What really matters is how you feel about yourself, because ultimately you are the one that is living your own life.
So you also lead and host transformative group workshops and events. What are some of the key teachings that participants often find most enlightening?
I think the fact that I share the wisdom of my country, Peru, is a very special place. It kind of makes them feel, it raises their vibration to a higher vibration. So when you go to places like Sacsayhuaman, or you go to places like Ausangate, one of the sacred mountains, your vibration is a high vibration of undiluted love. So there are places in the world that have that vibration. So what I do is, what my people really like is the fact that pretty soon, as I start training them towards the trip, is that they start raising their vibration and they start tuning into the feeling of oneness, right? That feeling of, I am protected, I am safe, I'm in a good place. And just going back to that, I don't have to do anything or be perfect. I just have to be. And getting to that vibration is just so peaceful, and being in that peace and that calm that allows you to just be happy. I think that's a great experience.
How long do your workshops typically run for?
Well, right now I'm starting a preparation for a trip. It's taking 6 months, but these are for the people that are going in the journey. I usually prefer to work one-on-one with people, so because everybody has a different story, right? So we look at first, for instance, I have clients that have a lot of success in certain parts of their life. There's one particular aspect that they're struggling, and it doesn't make them feel good. They do really well financially, they have a successful career, but their relationships are struggling. So we start looking at that, and I really enjoy working one-on-one. So usually I have sessions with people. Within 4 or 5 sessions, their lives has completely changed to the point where, like, oh my gosh, my priorities were so screwed up, I really needed to shape this. A lot of things come from personal wounds. We came, for instance, people that have lost their parents really early on. They kind of become like the head of the family very, very young, so they become very independent, right? But then because they become so independent, then the whole family starts depending on them. And what happens, everybody becomes codependent with them, right? So it's like you have to pay their bills, or you have to solve their problems. And when we do that, when you're a very capable person, what happens is you start taking away the ability of them to create their own life. So by changing their mentality of the way they approach things, showing them a different perspective, they start releasing those cores, those attachments that are no longer serving. So every person is different. Everyone has a different story, but pretty much that's what I see a lot.
Nice. Now, I've got to ask you a question about when you became a shaman. Was that directly from your contact with spirits? I mean, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and I mean, you did mention that you had that contact with Kachakutek. Was that the main experience that actually really opened you up?
No, I think the main experience was once I received the initiations, once I received the keys to connect with it, and then I went into Peru, and I basically, it's almost like I received the spark when I got the initiations, but the fire started when I visited the sacred sites, because I truly felt like, whoa, I really understand what this is about. So it makes sense, right? Because it's almost like, okay, you're reading a book about it, but another one is to experience and going there and understanding what that book was telling you about. I learned the theory with initiations, but really the true activation was by going to the sites.
Right, and that's when you actually had deep contact with the spirits of the local area and the spirits of the site.
Yeah. So my purpose as a shaman really is to lead people back to the mountains, to initiate them and having experienced that, and then make them feel that activation in the mountains, and then to become the whatever type of earth keeper they want to become. Right? Because we all have a different mission. We all have a different path. So whatever they do with that is up to them. My job is just to lead them in that direction.
Yeah. Question about that. So do you find that the people that are attracted to you and your services and the help that you can bring to their lives, people that of South American descent, or do you find that it's people called from all walks of life because they actually have a resonance through their own possible ancestral line to that connection?
Yeah, I work with people with from different parts of the world. Mostly the people that work with me are the people that are ready to receive this message, because it's almost like you've tried everything and it didn't work. Yeah. And you're looking and you are at that frequency. It's all about frequency, right? Frequency and vibration. You have to be at that frequency where my work is, where, okay, and I'm not saying that I'm the highest frequency in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying that I'm a certain frequency, and they come here and they're like, oh my gosh, you really are speaking into my heart. You're really opening my mind. This is something that I've been looking for. So we start working together. It can be from any different origin. It could be Americans, it could be Australians, it could be work with people from the Middle East, so from all walks of life, really.
There's many ways to healing, and different modalities work for different people, which is an important thing to understand because everyone's different. Yeah. I'd say that we've all had many, many lives by now, and so whatever works when it comes to tuning up.
Exactly. It's all about whether if you feel comfortable, right? Because the main thing about healing, separate healing versus curing. Curing has to be more related to medicine, where healing is more holistic, right? More about your energy. You have to feel safe. You have to create that sacred space for that person to feel 100% safe, so they can open up and really dig into their soul and find that very deep trauma for them to really let it go. Right. So if you're not safe, if you don't feel like this is the right place for you, then it's not for you. Right. So that's the main thing, that my client needs to feel safe before I start working with them.
Yeah, that sense of safety will allow people to relax and open up and
yes, for sure.
Be ready for change.
For sure.
Yeah. As someone who holds various certifications in energy medicine and healing practices, can you explain how these modalities enhance your work?
Yes. So one of the things that I use a lot is, because I'm a clairvoyant, I'm a trained clairvoyant, I can see them in different ways. I mean, I can read a person 10 different ways, right? But so that helps me a lot. But I also have archangel training, which the powers of the archangels are very transformational and very transformative, really. I can bring that into my practice. So when I call on the spirits of the mountains and the lineages, I also call on the archangels. So I integrate that into my practice. And I can tell, sometimes it's the apples that are whispering into my ears, and sometimes it's the archangels, and they tell me, hey, this woman needs a meditation right now, because what she needs is love, right? A lot of people, they're lacking love. Can you imagine that? They feel so small and that nobody loves them. So the archangels come in, and then, okay, we'll guide you through meditation. And I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, but whatever it is what that person needs at that moment, and they start raising their frequency to that place where they start feeling love, accepted, and not judged anymore. And that is very powerful. So that's part of my practice as well, on top of the shamanic tools that I have. Every person comes with a different story, and you have to pull out a different tool from your toolbox to see what works for them. Yeah, and being a clairvoyant helps a lot for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So when you say clairvoyant, are you able to, clairvoyant means clear seeing, do you have auditory things too, or any other modalities with?
Yeah, I see their energy sometimes. I mean, like I was trained to see people from a place of neutrality, but with shamanic activations, I learned to see from my third eye and my heart, which is it's important to have compassion for your client. I think that's very, very important. And then not only that, sometimes I just know that something is off with health-wise is off because I can feel it in my body. I can feel what they're feeling. So I learned to just be open and not to drain my energy too much. So I kind of like, okay, I'm feeling this, so let's put it over here outside of my space so I can see it better and not bring it into my body, right? And then I start looking at, okay, we need to address this, and that. And please go see a doctor about this because I'm picking up on this. Please make sure that this is not the case, that is not happening with you. And if it is, please address it, right? But I start feeling it in different ways and I hear it. Sometimes I just know. Sometimes I just, I just know, please, we need to work on this. So yeah, many different ways.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're deeply intuitive, and tuning into those abilities assists you in all that you do there. Now, I had a question about, do you have any examples of success stories that you could share, if you could make those anonymous, and to inspire listeners?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes healing can be very successful, and sometimes healing ends up with the passing on of a person. Okay, the main thing is that I work at the soul level. So let's see, again, I've had several cases where women were unempowered. They had these issues with their relationships, and then I start telling them, hey, listen, sometimes it's just telling them, this is not your job, this is not your homework for you to fix, and if you do it, you're taking the lesson away from this person. It's over and over. I see that. Okay, like for instance, I had a case in which this family brought a whole family into the United States because the father wasn't taking care of them, and this person was sharing with me how much of a financial drain this was for him, right? And I said, okay, well, what happened is you took that problem away from the father and brought it, and you took responsibility over it when that was the problem for that person, not for you. So just by, he was looking as an act of compassion, right? No, because it was an act of, you took their power away in some ways. Sometimes we don't realize that by us taking over a problem that belongs to someone else, we're taking their power away. So allowing to watch that with perspective and saying, okay, you can give an advice and I can guide you in that direction, but this is something that you have to do yourself. I can't do it for you. So that's very common, that we want to fix everybody's life, everybody's problems, and that is not the solution. The solution is perhaps to give them a tool, but not to fix the problem. Like Christ used to say, or I remember a priest told me, we don't want to give fish to the poor person. We want to teach them to fish. Right? So it's important about teaching tools, not solving their problems.
Yeah.
See, another example, I think something that is very rampant is guilt. Okay. I see, for instance, I know of this woman once, abortion is a very common theme, in women, that they feel so guilty because of what they did. And they judge themselves sometimes. And I remember once I had this experience in which my guys just told me, okay, what you need to do is to put a mirror in front of her, but don't let her know it's a mirror. So I was guiding her through a meditation, and I said, okay, I want you to look at a woman that has gone through the same problems you've gone through. And it's a different person. I said, just look at her. How will you treat her? How will you approach her? What will you tell her? And I could see how much love he was sending to this woman, telling her that she understood her pain, that she was worth it, that she was, all of that, these beautiful things, all these beautiful words. And then I said, but remember that you're looking into a mirror, and this is you. So I kind of tricked her into loving herself, but it was so beautiful because it changed the whole perspective. Oh my God, I deserve forgiveness. I deserve love. I deserve all of these good things, this appreciation for myself. And I forgot that I could give that to myself. And turning that, showing that different perspective to the person, allow her to heal and move on, from that guilt. So that was a very beautiful experience. I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, that's a very powerful method to do that for sure.
It was something that they just whisper into my ear, do this, but don't tell her until the end.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. I like the idea of normalizing that spirits talk to us, and they do actually have good things for us
Oh,
too.
they're amazing. They're incredible. I feel so supported, and it's just revealing. I never know which way you're taking me, but when they open the door, it's like, wow, thank you for the tip there.
Did they have any messages for you before you came on the podcast?
It was very interesting. I was looking at your information, and the one before. It was about how women need to turn into their own sensuality and all that, and I thought that was very, very profound for me. So you actually had a message for me, so I really appreciate it. It was
Oh, good.
interesting, that it was like, oh wow, that's what I need to hear. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I get that from people that listen to the podcast. Sometimes people say, "I don't know why I was listening to it," but at the end, it actually all made sense, and I got something out of it that I didn't expect. So I appreciate that you gave me that feedback. That's really nice.
Yeah, no, it was really nice and really empowering. So thank you.
Oh, good. That's what I do this for. So
yes, for sure.
Okay, so looking forward, what would listeners and viewers know about your, or should they know about your upcoming journey to Peru in August 2025? Is that a group session, or is
It's
that
a journey? It's a journey. It's a journey, but we started already with a 6-month class. So what I'm doing basically is the journey I went through. I'm giving the people that are coming with me, I'm giving them the initiations that I received, which are the munay-ki rites, but I'm really breaking them down and explaining them what they mean from my perspective, being a Peruvian person that has received these rites, right? And then I also, at the end of the class, I explain a little bit about the history and the spirituality of the places that we're going to visit. So if I still have room for 4 more people in the journey, so if anybody's interested, we just started a couple classes ago, and I can bring you up to speed. I'm sorry, and you can join at any time. We're going the last week of August, and I really like the group that is coming together because they're really, really great people. So I'm really enjoying the process. So they're really appreciating, and they're looking forward to traveling.
Yeah. My wife is a munay-ki rights practitioner as well.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it the Fabiola way, in the sense that, okay, so how can we activate this by going to the sites, and what messages, and whatever message you receive is your own message, it's your own way, it's your relationship with the land that you're going to experience. I'm just giving you the activation so you can experience fully the activation when you get there.
Yeah, great. In your experience, what role does nature play in one's spiritual journey and personal healing process? I mean, we've been over this in different sorts of ways, but is there any specific role that you think nature plays?
Nature has the answers to everything. Nature is like an open book. If you go for a walk in nature and you have a problem and you just surrender it to the land, you surrender it to the environment, pretty soon you'll get the answer. It's like it's almost like nature has the codes for everything. So in the running of a creek, and the way the leaves move in the wind, and the way the sun shines, and everything, there's some information for you, because it allows you to connect once again to where you came from, and it reminds you of that truly unique essence of yourself. So I tell my kids, because my daughter was having an argument with me about, I don't understand what's the benefit of nature. Well, think about it of the Zelda game, because she loves Zelda, right? And I said, Zelda is a very nature-inspired video game, right? And I said, don't you always go in the game and there's a key hidden behind the boulder, right? Or do you have to find, that's exactly how nature works. It's just all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, you have an epiphany, and you realize there was the answer. It's exactly the same way, but in the real world.
Yeah. The magic that they put into the computer games is great in that way, that it does enchant people towards the idea of that sort of connection. And yeah, you leading her full circle to the actual real life version of that is super important, I think.
And I was just like, to be honest, I was going to go on my frequency, but then the angels say, hey, think video game. They just told me, think video game. I said, yeah, let's do that. So the angels say, how can I relate to this kid? Because she's just fighting me. And then she got it, it was very interesting. So,
Yeah, no, I love that. So what sort of advice would you give someone who feels disconnected from their purpose or unsure of their own spiritual path?
Well, if you feel disconnected from your purpose, if you feel like, I just hate my job, or hey, it's a big sign. It's a sign from the universe. Something is out of alignment, right? So it's like, okay, good. You're hearing the message. Take a deep breath, right? Okay, so first step, find a connection with nature, find a connection with yourself through meditation, whatever method. I have some meditations in my website too that you can use, but whatever method, whatever you feel called to explore, but connects you with you. Because sometimes we try to find gurus and teachers. Nothing wrong with that, but whatever method brings you back to you and to listen to your own information, it's what you need to use, because ultimately the only person that has the answers for you is you. So reconnecting back to yourself is so important to find your true purpose in life. And that's my goal, to help you find that answer, to listen to your inner voice with the help of nature. Yeah, sure.
Well, that leads me to asking about your book, Lessons from a Tree.
Yeah, so initially it was published. It still hasn't been published. I'm still kind of waiting on that. But the first book was published under Sam and the Giant Tree, and it was published with a pen name, Samantha Freeman. So you can find Sam and the Giant Tree on Amazon. But what I'm doing is, for the people that are taking my courses, I make that book available for them so they can, the new book, Lessons from a Tree, because I feel like I need to be in the right place to publish that book. But the people that are studying with me get access to that book and to the meditations and all that. So, and it's actually published in English, not published, but it's written in English and Spanish as well. So I expanded Lessons from a Tree to a bigger book.
What specifically is in that book? Because I mean, it is about meditation. Do you help people understand the depth of their meditations and the importance of them?
Basically, it's a grounding style of meditation. So it's grounding,
okay.
But also running energy from the cosmos and the earth, and also learning a little bit about the anatomy of the auric field and how you can cleanse your chakras, how you can cleanse the different layers of the aura, how to increase the abundance in your life, and how to manifest things in your life. So through the power of meditation. And
what messages do you think that people need to hear in our society right now, considering all of the distraction and confusion and seemingly like stuckness? You know, it seems like we're all on the edge of something. What do you think people need to hear to actually help with the assistance of the ongoing change?
That's such a great question, you know. Okay, so there's so much despair right now, but this is how the shaman sees the world, in 4 levels: the physical level, the serpent level, right? Physical serpent. Then we have the mind level, the jaguar level, the emotions. Then we have the soul level. I'm sorry, the mind level is the jaguar. Then we have the soul level, which is the emotions. And then we have the condor ego, which is, you know, the level of spirit. If we pull up from the day-to-day, the 3D, and we start gaining perspective as we raise up, we realize that everything that we see down there, every situation, every challenge, is really just a lesson, you know. It's a lesson that is trying to teach you something. And the sooner you learn, the better off you're going to go into the next lesson, right? You're going to move on, and that's not going to be a problem anymore. So having that eagle condor perspective will be so great in this moment, that everything is okay, everything is in right order, and everything has a purpose. You know, every challenge that you're going through in life right now has a purpose. So say thank you for that lesson. Say thank you for that challenge that you're going through, because it's teaching you something bigger about yourself. So if we start looking at life like that, thank you, Lord, for, I don't know, from the flat tire, you know, that I got, because He taught me that I could rely on other people to help me to get out of this situation. Thank you, Lord, for this health challenge, because He taught me to take care of myself and to put myself first, right? Thank you, or Lord, or thank you, universe, whatever you want to say. Thank you, universe, for taking me away from science so I can have a better life as a shaman, right? I mean, all of it is incredible and such a blessing, and it makes me so much happier. So same thing, every lesson, you can look at it from a different perspective. So the ego perspective, you know, seeing it as a lesson that has an impact in your life, I think is phenomenal.
It speaks to the idea of the fact that we are all co-creating with the Creator.
Absolutely. For sure. We are all part of the Creator, right? We all create. And not only that, I think changing the perspective of your life of, you know, like, this is really not as bad as it looks. It really, there is a hidden gem behind this lesson. It changes your to think more positively, to think more empowered, you know, being more empowered, to own your own problems, the own direction of your life, and not to be the victim, because a lot of the population of the world is in that victimhood. And no, if we only switch in your perspective, can make you so much more powerful and so much more happier.
Yeah, I had some profound experiences way back where I was initiated and came to the realization that everything is God all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And within that makes this place that we're in the heaven that we created, so we can create whatever we like. And if we create consciously and positively, then everything gets beautiful and amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, heaven and earth is here, right here. Whatever you create, that's your hell or your heaven or whatever you decide to create. You are the maker. You are the creator of your own reality, really.
Absolutely.
Even if you're poor or rich, no matter what, it's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah. Well, Fabiola, we've come to the end of the podcast, and I was going to ask you, how can people find you and your works?
Well, you can go to my website. It's Fabiola Baughman, FABIOLA and I have all my links there for my meditations, for my books, for my documentary, Journey to the Heart of the Andes, which is, the message from the people of the Andes. Yeah, and that's how you can contact me and learn more about my journeys and other activities.
Thank you so much for your sharing on Supernormalize, your experience of connections to the Apus and to the spirits, and your experience of healing people and taking them on their journey. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks to you, CJ. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll just say goodbye to listeners.
All right.
Well, that was a great talk with Fabiola. I got to say that I feel really lucky that I get to talk to all these amazing people and, again, then share that with the world, because there's keys in everything that people say. And Fabiola brought the keys of understanding of taking that time to stop and tuning into yourself. Now, the importance of tuning into yourself and having that moment of mindfulness and space allows for you to connect deeper to your mission in life and to your experience of your own super nature. If you've enjoyed today's show, reach out to Fabiola and tell her. That'd be really nice. She'd really appreciate that, and I'd appreciate that too. So she knows that she's been heard, which is really good. And watch a documentary. I'm going to watch that tonight myself. And yeah, there's so much goodness in this conversation. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It's free. And also get into a podcast app if you are on a podcast app and give me 5 stars. Say something really nice and share it to a friend that you think would benefit. That'd be really cool. So thank you so much for listening again. And until next episode, it's bye for now.